Picture this. You just spent months, if not an entire year, packing on weight to build muscle, and now you want to slim down. So you spend the next few months dieting, only to look the exact same way you did before you started bulking. So what went wrong? In this video, I'm breaking down exactly how to shed body fat as quickly as possible without losing muscle during the process, so you could build the body of your dreams without the trial and error I had to experience when I started. And to get you there even faster, I put together a free body recomposition master guide that focuses on building muscle while losing weight. You can grab it with the link below. The first thing I wanted to focus on was something that held me back my entire first year of trying to slim down after my bulking phase had ended. I knew that if I wanted to lose weight, I would need to eat less food. So naturally, I tried to diet on my own using what little information that I knew about fat loss. I thought the answer was an extreme deficit with a dangerously low amount of food. I probably only ate about 1,000 calories a day at most. I didn't feel too bad after the first week, so I kept it going. But considering I had months of eating in a surplus under my belt, my body wasn't exactly hurting for more food. So that week of controlled starvation wasn't going to affect me physically to any noticeable level. It wasn't until after the second week where I started to notice the negative side effects. I looked completely flattened out. Even though I had lost an extra pound or two of fat, my muscles completely lost that fullness around them that influenced my overall size. This could be chalked up to the fact that my carb intake had severely declined from a normal healthy range to practically nothing. And the body stores carbohydrates as glycogen, and each gram of stored glycogen is associated with 3 to 4 grams of water. On top of losing overall size that exists separately from body fat, I also lost a ton of energy by that 2-week mark. Even if I was at the point where I could have reached ketosis and my body started to use fat for energy, my calories were just way too low for that to make a difference. The result of my reduced energy? I had less drive to work out, and when I did, my strength was little to non-existent, and I couldn't train hard enough to influence my muscles to keep their size. As a result, I didn't just lose fat, I mostly lost muscle. Because muscle is metabolically expensive to create, your body is more incentivized to burn it off over fat unless you give it the resources to hold on to that muscle. One of those resources is calories, specifically in the form of protein. All of this could have been avoided if I had dropped my calories by only enough to lose a pound of body weight per week instead of more. And if you want to learn more about properly dialing in your maintenance calories so you're not under or overeating during this process, I've linked another one of my videos with the timestamp that you can check out. Once your calories are dialed in, you only need to drop them again by 500 below maintenance to lose that 1 pound per week. Since that deficit isn't as extreme, you can sustain it for a long period of time without worrying about muscle loss or health risks. But that isn't enough though, because if you just eat carbs and fats, your muscles won't have the fuel that they need to train and recover. So just like how you need to eat protein in order to grow your muscles, you need to eat protein in a deficit to maintain them. And this especially applies if your goal is body recomposition. There's no shot you'll be able to lose fat while gaining muscle if you're not hitting your protein goal. So what does that even look like? When you're in a surplus and you're eating in excess calories, you can get away with eating 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But when you're in a deficit, you want to bump that up to about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But to be on the safer side, you could always opt to eat closer to 1.2. This means if you weigh 160 pounds, you would want to eat as little as 160 grams and as high as 192 grams. More isn't always better though. The benefits of protein cap out after a certain level of consumption, so eating 400 grams a day as a 160 pound man isn't going to help you in any way unless your goal is to be on the toilet for most of the day. Once I started to control my deficit and was only eating 500 calories below maintenance and keeping my protein high, everything started to change. I had more fullness in my physique again, and I also had more energy to train. On top of energy, my body had the resources it needed to train hard enough to incentivize myself to hold on to that muscle I was fighting to protect. As important as diet is, it means nothing without the proper training intensity and program. So what does that look like on a cut? Should I be training less and train differently because my goals have temporarily changed? These are all questions I asked myself during my first cut, and I didn't quite have the answers yet, so I tried to figure it out all by myself. I assumed because I wasn't training to build muscle anymore, I didn't have to go as hard. I ended up training less days per week and doing less overall volume per set. I also stopped training as close to failure as I was before. My mindset after correcting my diet was that as long as I got enough protein in, I can compromise on my training a little bit. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. If you stop training in a way that would otherwise promote building muscle, your body won't be incentivized to hold on to the muscle that you currently have, even with your diet locked in. Thankfully, the solution is very simple, which is probably why it's been overlooked by many. All you have to do is literally just train the exact same way that you do when you're bulking. This means if what you were doing before was working, it'll work when you're cutting fat. Train the exact same amount of days per week, train each muscle group the same amount of times per week, do the same number of exercises in the same order, do the same number of sets and rep ranges, and train just as close to failure as you were before. And if you're struggling to find the right program for your specific needs, all of my programs are in my free school community, Muscle Truth University, link below. Send me a DM on there and I'll hook you up with your own free training plan. So as far as cutting goes, you won't be focused on progressive overload as much, especially when you're not a beginner or deeper into your cut. The best way to gauge whether you're retaining all of your muscle mass is with your strength gains. If you were able to maintain the same weight you were previously moving with the same amount of reps, you're definitely not losing muscle. And there's also a misconception that I wanted to address regarding the number of reps you need to perform for each workout. I've seen multiple rumors stating that when bulking, you should do lower reps for building size and higher reps for toning the muscle or losing weight. This is 100% false, and the reason for that is you can't spot reduce body fat anywhere on you. Changing the amount of reps you're performing means absolutely nothing if you're not training close to failure. Without that, you'll certainly lose muscle mass on top of the size you're already going to lose via your body fat and water retention loss. But that quote-unquote size you're losing during your deficit is literally just that water retention and body fat, as long as you're training correctly. So even though your muscles look smaller, the muscle tissue itself hasn't gone anywhere. Over time in a deficit, you might lose some strength gains if you're a little more advanced or stay in a deficit for a long period of time while already being relatively lean. But if you just started your cut and your strength is plummeting, then you have an issue with your diet, training, or recovery that needs to be immediately addressed. So now that I finally fixed my diet and my training, I was able to hold on to all of my existing muscle while dropping a pound of body fat every single week. I thought that was more than enough, but my life started to get super busy and I found myself having to stay up every single night if I wanted to get my workout in and my meals properly made. So my sleep heavily declined. I went from getting 7 to 8 hours per night to 4 to 6 at most. I figured because I was training hard and eating enough protein, my body would keep doing what it's doing. When you cut sleep from 8 to 5 hours, testosterone levels can drop by 5 to 10% within just 1 week. Simultaneously, cortisol, which is your stress hormone, spikes by up to 50% in the evening hours. Lower testosterone means reduced muscle protein synthesis, and while elevated cortisol actively breaks down muscle tissue for energy. This is super problematic when you're already in a calorie deficit. Researchers had 2 groups of overweight individuals eat the same 1,450 calorie diet. One group slept 8.5 hours, the other just 5.5 hours. Both groups lost about 6.6 pounds, but here's the kicker. The 8.5 hour group lost mostly fat, which was 55% of their weight loss, while the 5.5 hour group lost mostly muscle. Only 25% of their weight loss was fat. Same calories, same exercises, but the sleep-deprived group lost 60% more muscle mass. You can find the link to that study in the description. After several nights of 5-hour sleep, your strength can drop 5 to 10%. This means if you are benching 225 for 8 reps, you might only hit 5 to 6 reps. Lower training volume means less stimulus to preserve muscle, specifically when that lower volume results in lower intensity. Your body interprets this as not needing that muscle anymore and prioritizes burning it for energy during the cut. I experienced each and every one of these side effects and started to lose strength and muscle mass during my cut. I had to restructure my life to be able to sleep 7 to 8 hours again, and once I did, my strength returned, and with it, so did my ability to maintain my existing muscle mass and continue to have the energy to keep training every day. To this day, I still apply all of these principles, and during my last cut, I was able to lose 30 pounds over the course of 5 months without strength and muscle loss. But if you're a complete beginner or aren't as experienced, you might not know how to properly structure your cutting phase if your goal is to lose fat while maintaining or even gaining muscle. My aim is to help you achieve your dream body without the years of trial and error or getting lost in a sea of misinformation. So if you're interested in getting to your goal physique as fast as possible and don't want to do it alone, you can book a free private one-on-one call with me using the link below. It's just for me to see if I can help you, and if I can, we'll come up with a game plan that can either be implemented yourself or working directly with me. I look forward to working with each and every one of you.